So we're going to spend a moment with DS Emma Mason, again from Operation Topaz, talking to us now about some of the disruption techniques and methods that they use when there are concerns around exploitation. So Emma, if it's okay, I will hand over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Steve. Hello, everybody. I'm Emma Mason. I'm the DS for Op Topaz in Somerset, and I cover the child sexual and criminal exploitation in Somerset. Andre is, who was on previously, is one of my officers. She's the prevent officer, and if you ever have any questions or want any training, certainly go to Andre because she is a wealth of knowledge for us. I have a small team. I have 3 disruption officers and 3 engagement officers presently. We're hoping for a bit of uplift on numbers for that. My disruption officers are there to look at all sorts of the information, intelligence, and crimes that are coming in, and looking at opportunities to disrupt and deal with suspects and risky adults that we believe are harmful to some of the young people in our area. Engagement officers are there to work with the young people and all the professionals and partners within Somerset to try and help improve the outcome and safety of the young people that our disruption officers are sort of focusing on in terms of the adults exploiting them. It sometimes isn't always about going through the court process. It's about giving the voice of the child and looking for a best outcome for them, be that back into education, into employment, working better with other professionals that are involved with that young person's life. And we look at all sorts of opportunities and other things that we can do. Very passionate about it. We've got a very driven team, and we couldn't do it without all our partners. We all have a fight. We're all involved in it against child abuse, and we all have a role to play. And I couldn't do my job without all of you. The Intel portal that Andre spoke about in her presentation is our biggest input into driving the work that my officers and I do on a day-to-day basis to keep children safe. And I can't sort of emphasize that enough for all our partners and professionals working with children, how important that is. It allows us to look at opportunities to disrupt the offenders and without having to get the child involved and without asking them to provide evidence, we can look at other ways and means of disrupting the behaviours of those perpetrators. So I thought what I would do first is just go through some of the safeguarding legislation. This is all out there on the internet. If you go onto the Home Office website, is the most up-to-date and accurate for you if you want to read any of that. But that is a snapshot of just some of the legislation and safeguarding that we use and we operate under. The working together to safeguard children. We hold monthly meetings with all our partners to discuss the intelligence coming in, the young people that we're concerned about, and more importantly, the perpetrators that we think are potentially causing harm to these young people. So we work together, we share information and work out plans of how we can keep these young people safe within the Somerset area. I operate a lot under the Sexual Offences Act and under the Children's Act, ensuring and looking at various offences involved in sexual exploitation. We've got the Modern Day Slavery Act as well, that's been in since 2015, which obviously covers the trafficking and exploitation of anybody that isn't age relevant. An adult can be trafficked as much as a child can be, and they can be exploited. But that's certainly one that we look at when we're thinking about county lines and these adults and main dealers moving children about to hold lines and run lines for them. And as we said, it doesn't matter whether they're in a room, if they're moved from one room to another or moved from one county to another. That is trafficking and it's exploitation, and there is legislation to cover that we operate under. And it's about identifying those offences under some of these headings and going after the perpetrators of them. So I can't emphasize that enough in terms of just thinking outside the box, looking at the legislation. I'm not going to go through it. You will be able to see that on online on the government website in terms of what each of those acts and everything that they and the parts that they cover, and where we can fit in and sort of arrest offenders for some of these offences. Which moving on, then we've got the disruption toolkit. If anybody wants to know a little bit more about it, again, the Home Office website, the link is there on the display for you. This is just a whistle-stop tour, really, of our day-to-day work. Our first low-level intervention, a lot of the time, is looking at our warning letters, which cover both sexual exploitation and criminal exploitation. That's sometimes to make people aware that they're coming to police attention, that we're concerned that they're causing harm to certain young people in the community. And we can give those warnings out in terms of just making them aware police are looking at them, and if it's something that they would like to happen or not. We also give them out in the community in terms of making people aware that sexual exploitation or criminal exploitation is going on in their local community and within their neighbourhoods, and that they can contact police, or if they see something or they're concerned about something, or to report in anonymously via Crime Stoppers. If they want to stay anonymous, we will not find out who that is, but it still comes in through our intelligence systems, so that we can start looking at and building a picture of what's going on for our communities. The next level up from that is a child abduction warning notice. That is something that we give out quite regularly. It's not an offence in itself, but what it does do is it draws a line in the sand for those offenders that might be causing harm to some of our young people. It's about informing them that they are a child, that they are trying to harm, and that they do not have any legitimate reason why they should be in company with that child or communicating with that child in any way or form. A lot of the time that is enough to warn people off. It also means that should they commit any further offences, be found in company with that child or communicating with them, there is no excuse. They cannot say that they do not know that that person is a child and they haven't been told and warned about it previously. So that's certainly something that we operate a lot on in terms of serving on offenders and people coming to notice that are causing harm. And it gives them an opportunity to stop and step away from that young person, so that the professionals and the people trying to keep them safe can get closer to them and work with them. So that's our first disruption toolkit when we're looking at the intelligence that's coming in. Can we serve that? We have two forms. You have the under 16s and then the under 18s if they're in on any form of care order. My disruption officers aren't always going to go for the serious trafficking, modern day slavery, or serious sexual offences side of things, because a lot of the time we might not have the evidence quite for that at the particular time. But what we will do is, once we get an offender and somebody that we think is harming a young person, they're usually up to other things as well. So what my disruption officers will look at is, as well as trying to protect the child in terms of with the child abduction warning notices, we just look at other offences that might be going on by that perpetrator. Sometimes they might be driving without any licenses. There might be some public order. You know, they're going out every Friday, Saturday night, getting drunk, causing issues. They might be doing some shoplifting, drug possession. You know, going around taking drugs, being out in a community, carrying a little bit of an illegal substance on them, stalking, harassment. You name it, there might be all sorts of different things that this person might be doing, as well as pulling that child into that harm as well. So my disruption officers will build up cases. We'll get our support units involved, traffic units involved, all sorts of other opportunities that we can look at to arrest them and deal with them and stop them causing harm, because it means that other professional agencies will get involved, and probation. There's many other things and civil orders that we can put on them. You then have the sexual offences, child sexual offences and offences against a child that are listed there. If a child abduction warning notice is given and then they're found in company with that person again, we can arrest them for abduction of that child, encouraging a child to run away, keeping a child away from care. There's those offences we can think about. If you have, say, a 19, 20-year-old in a relationship with a 14, 15-year-old, we know that they're in a relationship and they've been taking images of that person, then that's possession of indecent image of a child, and we can arrest them for those, seize the phone, and do the necessary investigation to prove that offence. You've got your human trafficking, exploitation, and also your domestic violence of legislation that we can look at. And again, those are all tools in our toolbox that we can use. My team in particular are very good at the civil orders, slavery trafficking risk orders for your modern day slavery offences, also your sexual harm prevention orders for the sex offenders, which then means that they are managed much better out in the community. A look at your antisocial behaviour injunctions. All of those tools allow us to start trying to disrupt the activity of the perpetrator to make that young person safe. There's certainly ones now. We've got the public spaces protection orders, drug dealing to telecommunications restriction orders. There's all sorts of ones that we can start looking at that mean that we can put curfews on them, we can put restriction zones on them, we can put restrictions around their phone use, how many phones they've got, and what they have to do to register that phone. The list is quite substantial, and it does mean that they're then managed, and if they were found breaching that, they can then be put into prison without ever having to approach a young person to ask them to give evidence against them. So it is certainly a huge thing for us is in terms of keeping young people safe and doing the disruption and prevention before they have any more chance to cause harm to these young people. So those are just some of the things that we can do. And then moving on, this is just a little bit more information about the child abduction warning notices. As I said, this is our first line of defences in terms of just letting people know that we're looking at them, that they're coming to notice in connection with this young person, and that they've got no reason to be with them. It comes under the Child Abduction Offence and the Children and Young Persons Act. The first one is Section 2, and that applies to anyone under the age of 16. We will go out and get a statement from the parents and get an officer to serve the notification on the perpetrator. And then the Section 49 is for those young people in care or under a form of a care order or emergency protection order. Again, we can serve that on perpetrators that are identified causing harm to anyone under the age of 18. And as I said, they are highly effective in terms of warning people away from causing harm to these young people, and certainly something that my team use an awful lot to keep young people safe.